welcome to another keepsakecrafts.net jewelry making video. Today we're going to take some very simple materials, just these stone teardrops, and some wire. By shaping and hammering the wire and wrapping the teardrops, we'll end up with a pair of very interesting earrings. So the materials for these earrings are quite simple. The first thing you'll need is a pair of drops, and these are teardrop shaped beads. These happen to be faceted and were generously sent along to me by House of Gems to use. And you'll see the hole is drilled across the top. So these are called top drilled beads rather than the hole going from the point down to the bottom symmetrically. So there's a special way of wrapping these, and I'll show you how to do it. But you'll need a pair of those, a pair of ear wires, and I have shown you in other videos how to make your own ear wires. Today I'm using Porch ones. And then just some wire. I have 26 gauge and 20 gauge jeweler's bronze, dead soft. You could also use half hard if that's what you have, and you could vary the gauges slightly depending on what you have. For tools, you'll need a hammer, and this hammer has one domed end, and this is for hammering so that you don't get the edge. You can see how it's domed, so that when you hammer, the edge doesn't make marks in your wire. And then it has a rounded edge for giving that textured hammered finish. You'll also need a bench block or a little anvil to hammer on. And then round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, wire cutters, the usual ones, and also a cup burr. This is a little tool. It's a cup, you can see that, and it has diamond chips inside the cup which help file down our wire nice and smooth. Oh, and by the way, these are 10 by 15 millimeter teardrops. So the first step in making these earrings is to cut yourself a 4-inch piece of the 20 gauge wire, and then use the cup burr to make the ends smooth. Although you can't see it so much when it's small, it does make a difference when it's hammered flat, and the thicker the gauge of the wire, the more of a difference it makes to have a nice smooth rounded end. And next we're going to start shaping this wire into that hammered shape, and I'm going to place it in my round nose pliers. Let me zoom in a little for you here. I'm going to put it right at the very tip of my round nose pliers. And I'm going to make sure that I can't feel any of the wire sticking out. So it's just the very edge of that wire. And then hold the pliers. I'll zoom out again for you. So that your hand is shaped like this. And that way it's very easy to twist. Yeah, hold on to the wire. Twist your wrist and start a loop with that wire. And then loosen the pliers and twist your wrist again. And this is how you get a nice loop without any straight bit and with a pretty tight loop. If you need a tighter loop than this, the best way to start is to actually fold it with chain nose pliers. But we don't need it real tight because we're going to hammer it, and when you hammer it, it spreads out. Now once you've started that loop, it's time to switch to chain nose pliers. Chain nose pliers won't mar the wire like round nose pliers because the round part will make divots. Although, because we're going to hammer it, it's not such a big deal. But it's just something good to know. So you hold that loop with your chain nose pliers and then just give the wire a bend. So you hold it and bend. And then shift position, keep turning it clockwise, and bend. And what we want to do is leave a bit of a space. We're not making a tightly coiled loop because we're going to hammer it. And when you hammer wire, it spreads. It gets, instead of being round, it becomes flat, and that wire has to go somewhere, so it gets thicker. So we don't want a real tight coil. we want to leave a little space. And keep looping around. And what I found, I did a few sketches. Yeah, after you get it big enough, you can actually just use your fingers like I started doing there. I did a few sketches, and what I found from my sketches is that proportion-wise, it looks nice. I thought it looked nicest to have this bottom spiral to be just a little wider than the widest part of the teardrop. It is going to widen out a little when we hammer it, so I'm just going to keep going a little bit more and make it about the same width as my teardrop. Once you have it to that point, you can grab your round nose pliers again and repeat what we did in the beginning, making a loop going in the opposite direction. Again, you should be able to feel it. And then just twist your wrist until you have a nice loop. And then use your chain nose pliers to start making a spiral. And then I definitely want a difference between the top and the bottom. I don't want them the same. I want the top spiral to be smaller than the bottom, so I just kind of spiral that one a little bit more. Now you could make this any shape you want. You could make a very simple S shape, you could make a figure 8, you could make a heart shape. Think of all the different shapes you could make and go for it. Practice. I did go ahead and sketch this out on paper to begin with, just to get an idea of what I thought would look good proportionally and shape-wise with the teardrops that I had. So once you have your basic shape made, it's time to use your chasing hammer. Now if you look at this chasing hammer from the side, you'll see it's curved out, and that's so that you can hit your wire with this curved part and not hit it with these edges and make dents in your wire. And that's what we're going to do. And this will do two things. Of course, it will flatten it out. Ow. Don't hit your fingers. It will flatten it out, but it will also harden the wire. And I started out with dead soft wire. So if we want our pair of earrings to hold its shape, we definitely need to harden it some. And it's just a chemical process that actually happens in the wire when you hammer it as it becomes harder. And I think it also takes on a very interesting look rather than just plain round wire. And then if you want to texture it, you can use this round part of the hammer, and then you get this beaten metal look. And you can see how much this wire coil has spread as I've hammered it. And it doesn't, you don't have to beat it at it with the strength of Hercules. Just light taps do the job. And when you're done, if you want to reshape it a little bit, I'm going to open this up a little up here so that the ear wire can get in. So I just open that up a little. And now you have this shape. The next step is to wrap our teardrops, and for that we're going to use the 26 gauge wire, and I've gone ahead and cut a really long piece for this because I want to do a lot of interesting wraps. So I've cut an 18-inch long piece of 26 gauge wire, and I'm going to pop it through my teardrop, and I'm going to put a little more than usual because I want a double loop so that it's nice and strong. I'm going to put about an inch. Let me zoom in a little for you. I have an inch sticking out on the end here. And then you fold both wires up. At 26 gauge you can pretty much do with your fingers, it's fine enough. Fold both wires up so that they're parallel, roughly. And then bring both wires so they crisscross, and the cross is right over the point of that teardrop. And then, depending on the gauge of the wire, I'm using my fingers, but you could use chain nose pliers if you need to. At that point, bend the wire up so that they're parallel again. So you've got a little triangle shape above your teardrop shape of wire. And now I'm going to, it's really from here on, it's just the same as any other wire wrap loop. I'm going to hold it right there at the bend of the triangle with chain nose pliers and bend those at a 90-degree angle. Like that. And I'm going to tuck in my round nose pliers at about the 2mm point, which you can mark on your pliers. I know where it is. And I'm going to wrap both wires over my round nose pliers to make a loop, and then I'm going to reposition and finish that loop. And then it's just a matter of, you want to get that short end because it does kind of want to poke out. So we have the loop and we have this long wire. And I like to hold it, because the skate wire is so fine, it wants to spin and spin and spin and spin, and if you let it do that, you will break your wire, just like you know bending wire constantly will break it. So I like to hold this bit with my fingers so that it won't spin, and then I'm going to take this very long tail. The first thing I'm going to do is go down around that triangle, around the holes of that bead, and make sure they're covered. And then just go ahead and let the wire, it'll fill in that space. And that's what I want. And then I may go down a little further. And then it always looks kind of interesting to have one go up sharply and maybe one come down sharply. And then just fill in. And this looks really great if you have sterling silver wire or copper wire that you treat with a liver of sulfur patina, and then you can, the darks are in all these crevices, and you can polish up the high points. But you just keep wrapping that wire, and it really adds a great deal of interest to this teardrop. And then the last step, well, second to last step, the penultimate step, is to take your hammered spiral, and I'm just going to use chain nose pliers and open it out a little. And I'm going to slide these two loops around that spiral until they reach the bottom of the spiral. And then flatten that again. And now you can see this is actually facing the wrong way, so I'm just going to hold on to it and give it a twist so that the bead, and you can actually shape these because they're pretty fine gauge wire, shape them a little bit. And the last step is to open the loop of your ear wire with chain nose pliers by just twisting it out and pop in the top of your hammered shape. So here's another look at the earrings we made today. As you can see, just a little bit of wire wrapping and hammering and texturing really makes quite a difference. Be thinking about the simple pieces of jewelry that you can enhance with wire and make yourself something special. Thanks so much for watching Keepsake Crafts videos. Up on the screen are 2 more videos you might enjoy. And if you liked this video, please be sure to click like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. I have more videos coming up regularly. And be sure to check out my blog, keepsakecrafts.net, where I have lots of creative ideas and inspiration. Thanks again for watching. Happy creating. Bye-bye.